Hi, and welcome back to Bounce Forward with me, Tiff. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this podcast, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to elders, past and present. Today's question is a little bit different, so I'm going to split it into 2 episodes. Stephanie wrote into the podcast and said, "Hi Tiff, I'm a little bit ashamed to say I've only just discovered you on socials and have found out all about your career. Wow. I also noticed a lot of news articles always talking about your body, and I wondered how that made you feel. I know you speak about bouncing forward all the time and accepting our post-baby bodies, but how do you deal with that much attention on your body? I would hate that." Oh, yes. It's been tough, Stephanie. Because I was a fitness trainer in the public eye and worked on The Biggest Loser and, was on telly for a bit, it sort of was like the media felt like they could just comment on my body all the time. And I guess my body changed a lot, and they didn't expect this 6th dan black belt, super fit gladiator person to put on 40 kilos. And, I ended my pregnancy up at over 90 kilos or something when I was usually sitting at, 55 kilos or something. I doubled my weight, and it was a tough time for me personally because I really did feel like I was failing in having put on so much weight. I was like, shouldn't a trainer just be like this stick figure with a bump? How come my body hold so much fluid? How come I couldn't control my hormones? How come I had cravings? How come all this stuff happened to me? And I just couldn't help that my body just blew up. And I did feel like people would lose trust in me, that I had failed people, because your body is kind of a billboard for your fitness and your methods as a trainer. And I was thinking, wow, I'm not really projecting that I look fit. But then it forced me to think in a more positive and reframe that and go, am I less of a coach now that I weigh more? And really have the hard discussions with myself. And I thought to myself, no, I'm still a good coach. It hasn't impacted the way I coach or what I know or my knowledge or anything. And so it forced me to really knuckle down on coaching people and really being more kind and compassionate to myself, which is where the whole bounce forward philosophy came. But to be honest, I was so sick of the media's attention on my body. Like, I would be interviewed, the journalist would be like, are you scared of losing your fitness? Are you scared of your body changing in pregnancy? And all these questions. And I would be like, well, yeah, I guess. And I was just so sick of, let's get you in for a post-baby photo shoot 8 weeks after having the baby. The pressure on women, that's the whole reason I said I'm going to bounce forward, because I was sick of that toxic pressure that was coming through to always bounce back through social media and the media. And so I said I was going to bounce forward. And, it's nothing new. There's interest in women's bodies in the media. It's intense and it's unfair. Men never get put under the same microscope. And then when we want to change our bodies, right, when we lose weight or get fit or we change anyway, then there's some negativity around that. It seems that it's okay for dads to have a dad bod and want to change their dad bod, but it's not okay for women to have a mum bod and want to change that and to get stronger and to get fit. Because I received negativity when I was bigger, and then I received negativity when I changed and I got fit again. Oh, it's easier for you. You're a trainer, or it's genetics, or it's this, or it's that. It's none of those things. It was hard work. And actually, if we're talking genetics, I actually put on fat stores pretty easily. Like, that's my body. I know that if I don't train and I eat badly, I put on weight very easily. So it's actually harder for me to maintain a really fit physique. And that was evident through my pregnancies where, I put on weight quite easily and just it snowballed. I really did struggle with having people talk about my body so much. With Vada, postpartum, I was extremely vulnerable. I extremely struggled with it. On the verge of depression, to be honest. I couldn't deal with the social media. I couldn't even be on social media. And it was really hard for me because I run a business where Instagram is the primary advertising platform for my business. So being on Instagram, being present, posting often, being on Facebook, looking at it, being engaged, it's really important for my business. But I just withdrew and I just couldn't face it. And I actually had to have a little bit of time off. I took 4 weeks of mental health leave, and I just was like, I told my team I'm going to take 4 weeks off, and they were fantastic and prepped and covered me. No one would have ever known because we were posting old content or, posting pre-recorded stuff and things. But I needed 4 weeks to actually shut down from the world and just be like, right, Tiff, oh my gosh, all this noise about your body. And to be honest, at that time, I was breastfeeding. I was struggling with breastfeeding. I couldn't exercise too much or diet because I was breastfeeding and wanting to preserve my milk supply, and I was struggling with my milk supply. So I was scared to exercise. I was scared to diet. I was eating more food because I wanted to try and get that milk going. I was on medication to try and help the milk. Vada wasn't feeding. She was a sleepy baby. She wasn't interested in breastfeeding at all. So breastfeeding is all about supply and demand. The baby sucks, more milk comes, but because she wasn't sucking hard, my milk just wasn't coming in. And so I was power pumping. And any of the mums out there who has ever experienced pumping, it can be such a soul-destroying experience when you are sitting on that breast pump all day. And I would pump before and after feed to stimulate the milk. And I was doing 20-minute sessions before and after every feed. And if you're feeding, 6 to 8 times a day, that's a hell of a lot of pumping. And it was just killing me when I wasn't getting anything out, and I was determined to hang in there for breastfeeding until my mental health was just declining. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take some time off for me, off work, off media, off social media, completely black it out. And I also decided I'm going to give up breastfeeding. And that was a huge emotional decision for me. And I even get teary thinking about it now. All those guilty feelings that come up. Oh my God, I'm failing my baby. I was comparing it to my sister who had a baby at the exact same time, and she was breastfeeding easily. And I was like failing my daughter. And all of those feelings come up when actually it's not true. Fed is best. And I started formula feeding my baby. She wasn't gaining weight. She was failing to thrive. We were at the maternal health nurse every single week having a weigh-in. She had urates in her nappy. Like, the things were bad. So I needed to get her on formula so quickly to make sure she was putting on weight and she would thrive. And I did that. But I felt so guilty about it. And it's so bad that mums get shamed for bottle feeding or formula feeding, whereas I breastfed Arnold exclusively for nearly 18 months, and breastfed him easily. He was a strong sucker and we had great boobage and great milk supply, and it just always flowed. It was fine. And to have then it not work out with Vada, I was destroyed. So coupled that personal vulnerable experience of breastfeeding with, and any mum struggling to feed their child will understand, put that under a microscope where people are also commenting on your body being overweight and wondering how quickly you're going to lose the baby weight. And I fell apart. And that was the reason I decided to create MumBod, my program. And I would always film in perfect condition, like where I felt really strong and fit and, but with MumBod, I said, we're going to film next week. I have a big mum tum. I am still overweight. I am not at all fit, but I'm going to roll my tights down. I'm not going to even hide my tummy in my tights. Like, how you can tuck it in. Any of my mums out there with loose skin or mum tums, you can kind of suck it in with tights. I rolled my tights all the way down to my undies, and I filmed the whole program with my tummy out there to show the correct technique and to show how to engage that mum tum and really rehabilitate the right muscles and to do it properly without the pressure, because that pressure was making me feel like, oh my God, I got to go for a 10K run. oh my God, I've got to start dieting. That pressure was really getting to me. And I said, no, we're going to start by rehabilitating the right muscles, the pelvic floor, the lower abdominals, the core. And we're going to do it slowly with 15-minute workouts 3 times a week. That's it. That's all I could cope with mentally and physically at that time. And MumBod was such a huge success because so many women just rolled down their tights and said, I'm here with you, Tiff. I feel exactly the same way. I'm feeling that pressure myself. And women feel that pressure, whether it's going back to work and people commenting. The first thing they say, oh, you look great after you've had a baby and you've returned to work for the first time. Like that pressure on how mums look after they've had babies is just so disgusting. And I just really wanted to put a stop to that with my MumBod program. Thanks so much for listening to Bounce Forward. I love having your company, so please DM me on Instagram at tiffhall_xo and let me know what questions you'd love me to cover. Don't forget to rate and review me on your podcast app. Speak soon. Happy days.